we live, it's safe to believe in Jesus. But in some parts of the world, you have to be careful what you say. Peter lived in Jerusalem a very long time ago, and there were lots of people there who hated Christians. The country was ruled by a cruel king who locked people up if they talked too much about Jesus. But God helped Peter to be brave. The news about Jesus was too good to keep to himself, and Peter wanted everyone to know about it. He preached and prayed and spread the word that Jesus was alive and could change people's hearts. "This has to be stopped," snarled the king, and he took Peter prisoner. Into a dungeon Peter was dragged. It was dark and damp and cold. His clothes were ripped off and heavy chains were clamped to his wrists. 2 scary guards stood over him, and 2 more stood at the door, pacing up and down. How could he escape? He would have to wait for the punishment that the king had planned for him. How frightened he must have been. Peter felt abandoned, but God had not forgotten him. God had an exciting plan. Not far away, a small group of Christians met together to pray. Huddled quietly in an upper room, they asked God for help. They thanked him for being with them and praised him for his awesome power. They prayed that the news about Jesus would spread even more. They prayed for Peter, and the hours ticked by. The prayer meeting went on through the night. Meanwhile, Peter slumped in the dungeon, shivering with fear, half asleep. He wondered what would happen. "Please, God, help me," he pleaded. Suddenly a light shone in the cell, and an angel appeared. The light was dazzlingly bright, but Peter was so groggy that he didn't wake up. The angel gave him a shove, and that did the trick. "Get up," the angel said. "Put your clothes and sandals on, and your cloak. Now, follow me." The chains just fell from Peter's wrists, and he was free. He followed the angel out of the dungeon, past one set of guards, and they didn't bat an eyelid. Past the next set of guards they strode, and still they weren't stopped. Out of the prison and into the night. At last they reached the city gate. Peter thought he was dreaming. Then, just as quickly as the angel appeared, he walked away, and Peter was on his own. That's when Peter realized it wasn't a dream. He had been set free. God had answered his prayers and rescued him from the cruel king and the punishment he was meant to face. His heart beating in his chest, Peter hurried to the house where he knew the other Christians were praying. He knocked at the door and called their names. "Mary! Mark! It's me, Peter! I'm free!" There were voices inside, and someone came to the door. It was Rhoda, the servant girl. She was so excited when she heard Peter's voice that she forgot to open the door. "It's Peter! It's Peter!" She was hopping up and down. "Don't be daft, it can't be. You're just imagining things," scoffed the others. Peter kept on knocking, and eventually they opened the door. "Shh! whispered Peter. "It's true. I've been set free. God sent an angel and rescued me. Tell the church leaders what's happened. I'd better go." He slipped away so the guards couldn't find him in the morning. What a commotion as the guards tried to work out what had happened and hunted high and low. You can imagine how furious they were and terrified. "We're in serious trouble," they mumbled to each other. And they were. But even the cruel king was beginning to see that no one could stand in God's way. Peter was free to carry on his work. He knew with even more confidence than before that God had a plan for the world, and he would carry on spreading the word that Jesus is Lord of all.